Also, I did say that it was the last of the video of the hip joint exercise in the last one, but I lied. The two more, I think. I mean, it's endless if you ask people like ballerinos and people who really use a lot of hip joint extension. There are an endless amount of ideas, but I thought two more of videos will help you, specifically for karate and martial arts people, those exercises. So let's move on. Now, hip joint in a zen stretch, deep zen stretch, is this movement. And also you do that movement when you're preparing for mawashigeri. So if your hip joint is tight, of course there will be limitation for your preparatory angle or height, or and also you need to have a strength to be able to sustain this kind of move. The key for that is the flexibility or mobility of your sacrum. So if you see my anatomical, not quite accurate bodysuit, but my sacrum is around here. So if I want to increase the mobility of this joint, I have to stimulate the sacrum and just sort of tear away the tendon attached to sacrum from middle to the sideline and also outer line. You can also grab it and pull it away, particularly in a swimming pool or in a shower. When you're drying yourself, your body is still wet, or after swimming in a sauna or whatever, your body is quite warm. It's much easier to grab the area and then pull it away from the sacrum. So if you do that a few times, it's only a few times you really need, or some people, if you have been sitting down a lot doing lots of computer work, you will find that part quite tender. And then pretty straight away you will find the mobility increases. It just, even for me, like about 5 centimeter drops down to the floor. So it's a really important thing to do. So if I go to the bad side of mine at the moment, so this is my current capacity, and then this is current capacity. Sorry, I have to move you. And then if I do the scratch, you use your nail really and tear the tendon away from the bone. This is part of amagi therapy method that I learned. Just stimulate that area and pretty much straight away it changes. Other reflex point for the hip joint is right in the middle of the well, actually this is not a hip joint, but it's a diaphragm, and diaphragm is the starting point at the back. It's a psoas iliacus, which connects to your hip joint. So if you release the diaphragm, you increase your breathing capacity, but also mobility. So that's in between your knee to the hip joint, right in the middle, little bit above the bone. You'll find somewhere it's very, very tender. So tender, not tender. And then you can use the elbow. So just stimulate from the kneecap to that area. If it's really tight, spend a lot of time. If you just do a little bit of that before the class, after the class, I incorporate that in the warm-ups and cool-downs in my dojo. It really does help you so that you won't end up with thick, swollen quad, and that could lead you to, if you keep leaving the quad to be tight, it could lead you to sore knee, other injuries, back injury, etc. You may not have injury here, but you will end up having injuries in elsewhere. Other place that you can that's directly connected to hip joint is here. From, I did another video of it, but I think it's good to include it in this video series. From the ankle to the heel, you use your nail to scratch. It's quite nervy and it's very uncomfortable, but particularly when it's not mobile. So you stimulate that. Once again, don't use your fat area of your thumb, you use the pointy nail to dig it in. This is just to circulate the surface of, you know, blood circulation, but this actually stimulates your tendon and the area that connects directly to the hip joint. Inside the same, and then this area here and that area. So if you just have scratch a bit before the class or during, it really does help you. And this connects to your lower back, outer shin, inner shin. That really gives you a lot more mobility in your entire hip joint. So you can see that I'm moving a lot more. So this is the angle of preparatory angle that I can do from here to mashigeri or ura mashigeri. So it gives you a lot more chance to do that if you have that capacity. And of course, mobility alone is not good enough. You have to have a strength to sustain it so that you can avoid injuries. So these are the reflex points. I'll repeat from the other side. Heel to the heel, ankle to the heel, inside as well, and also the foot bone, this area. This connects to, I didn't do it on the left side, this connects to extension mobility, and also to the calf here, and then just in between all the foot and inner shin, outer shin. And another important thing is the reflex point for the hip joints are in your ankle. If you, I mean, I'm not a reflexologist, but if you just look at the chart and learn a bit about it, it's all in your ankle. So if your ankle is stiff, then your hip joint is stiff. So it will limit the stance depth, as well as also if your ankle is too stiff, it'll give you a higher chance of getting injuries when you try to do sudden movement or try to do a lower stance, or you just want to have a snap movement at the end of the corner and you want to shuffle through in kumite or kata or whatever you are doing. So it's very important that you have really make your ankle mobile, because this really reflects how fluid and mobile your hip joints are, and so as to the neck. So for me, I'm currently injured this ear, so I'm always a little bit stiffer and on my right side, and you can tell your hip flexibility by checking your ankle. So you know, if you have a very stiff ankle, then you will have a stiff hip joint. So instead of trying to work on a big joint, you can start working on your ankle. Particularly, you know, all day your body weight goes to this area. You know, entire movements and gravity goes to your ankle. So it's really important that you release that during the movement and every time you have the chance to work on it, because that's a lot simpler to warm your body up and prevent your injuries, and then also recover from your injuries, and also getting flexibility back in the area you need for, you know, quite ambitious exercises we do. Okay, next video I'll talk about how to strengthen these areas, and also add a little bit of a knee exercise as well, knee strengthening exercise, because, you know, these areas are all connected to one another.